want to talk about how, hello Spriggan. I just want to talk about a little bit like how music can be big. And I just want to talk a little bit, like real quick, about like positive and negative energy. Like, and I tweeted about this and I was talking about how if you put enough like positive, like any music, doesn't matter what style or whatever, like that doesn't matter, because music is like art. Like any art or any music can be big enough and can be worldwide. Let's just talk about music though. Can, because I know this is like a dilemma for a lot of young producers and producers worldwide. Like any of your music can be like big worldwide if you really think about it. Like if you really properly sit down and think about it, any music can be huge. And it just has to have enough, the right amount or enough positive kinetic or physical energy, mental energy, emotional energy, intelligence, and spirit in it, and then it becomes very useful to human beings. But that being said, after a while, being huge can be detrimental, because if you have this incredible popularity with no quality or control, then it'll fuck you. It'll like pretty much like be detrimental to you. So you have to think about that as well. Like if you have a show that has fights or whatever every show, or a high probability of it, you might like it at first in the short term, but after a while you're gonna do it 3 times a week or whatever, how many times a month, and you're gonna be like, fuck, I'm getting tired. No human in their right mind is gonna be like, I like negativity. Then you have recordings, you have to watch a recording over and over. You're just gonna be so sick of that world. So you have to understand that. And so I want to talk about the yin yang a little bit of music. So you're gonna have the positive energy. You want everything to be like, yeah, 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 yeah. And yes, you want the positive energy, but too much yeah turns into like there is a diminishing return on that. So after a while, yeah, and hyperness and you know, positive energy is going to be out of control. It's like a fucking birthday party with shrooms in the cake, you know. And it's like, fuck, like, you know, like an 8-year-old's birthday party with shrooms in the cake, and it's like, yeah, it's like, okay, now it's like not working anymore after a certain point. It's diminishing returns. It's like, fuck, like, it's fuck shit. Like, don't do fuck shit, my dude. Like, and so you want to have negativity. Believe it or not, like, it's Chinese fucking ancient philosophy. The fucking forces of darkness and light have to be in balance with each other. And you can use the negativity to calm your fucking crowd down. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, you gotta have, like, it's just like babysitting, right? Like, you wanna make the kids happy and be like, yeah, come on, kids. But then you also wanna be like, yo, you gotta eat the vegetables. You gotta do this. You gotta, okay, clean up. Put the toys back. Like, you gotta have some discipline. And that's where the negativity, but I mean positive negativity, not like out of control negativity. Excessive force will always make you lose. That's straight out of the Go No Show as well. I'm always teaching philosophy, and so I love that book, by the way. You should all study it. It's called The Book of Five Ribs, Go No Show, written by ancient samurai, who's part of my bloodline. So I have that fucking shit in me, if you noticed. You will notice. So you want to use the negativity to balance out your shit and add discipline into your music. Now, what levels is up to you, and it will. But just remember, keep a bird's eye view, a very, very quick understanding that the more positivity, usually the more you can, with skill, it has to have skill, but the more positivity framework, the more like excitement and agitation you can create, and then the more negativity is the more like kind of grounding. Kind of tiring you out, kind of disciplining you, grounding you, making you more stable and cool. So, and when you get them both right, it becomes very like, you know, tranquil and peaceful. But you don't, it's not about, when you make food, like, you're not trying to make everything 50-50. Sometimes you want to play around and then get to the same place by playful means, because it's just like if you made every dish to be perfectly down the middle, like, oh, it's going to have equal amount of vegetables and equal amount of meat, equal amount of vegetables. It's like astronaut food or something. Like, it's like protein pills or something. Like, you know what I mean? It's kind of like dog food or something. So you want to have a playfulness. You want it to be dynamic, but the overall, you want to have some balance. Like, damn, I've been making a lot of fucking death metal music and fucking like horror fucking shit. So maybe I want to add some little peaceful to balance out my life so I can feel better, so my crowd can feel better, and I can like, because there's durability factor. Like, you might like it in the short term, but over the years of repeating and watching the videos over and over and going to the and doing, you're gonna be like, fuck, I played this fucking song 1,000 times. You gotta be like, shit, it's losing its charm and shit. So you want that. You want that like, that's what creativity is. It's always different. If it was always 50-50 down the middle, we'd be like fucking robots. Like, trees are not squares. They have fucking natural delineations and forms. And that's what, those abstractions is what, that abstraction and those abstractions are what make things very interesting. So you want to play with things, go off beat on purpose to come back on beat, blah, blah, blah. Do things that are weird, do things that are straight, do things that are 80-20, that are 24, like 60-40, like, and then recorrect later or whatever, but the overall keep a balance and always have that kind of loose understanding of negative and positive. And when the crowd is too like, yeah, bring them down. Bring them down. Bring some fucking tranquility, some peace, some fucking hard discipline, right? And when the crowd maybe like, so there's always this balance of color. Like, if everyone's too depressed, bring them up with positive discipline and fucking, yeah, and like, so you want to have different colors, different stuff that you kind of play around with, and you always kind of keep in mind the balance of negative and positive, and it's not always going to be positive. For example, if you look at K-pop, all the positivity with that, there's 70% of those or more of those artists are secretly in depression therapy, and there's a lot more pressure, there's a lot more ugliness than you think that looks on the surface. And then that doesn't just go for K-pop, it also goes for idol, Japanese Tokyo Idol bands, or J-pop, or regular pop. There's or even just regular commercial music, or any kind of music that's big. There's a lot of pressure that's, you know, because it's too much of a good thing. See what I'm saying? Too much ecstasy and partying. You know, you're real happy, but then it's like, it has a limit. You see what I mean? And then there's these like diminishing returns and like, you know, I don't want to say the word consequences because that's such like a fucking downer, but it's something like that. There is going to be data feedback for each thing that you do. So make sure that you evolve yourself and try to be the fucking optimized movement thinking, and or just keep these things in mind to enhance you. So whatever you're doing, maybe you're punk, maybe you're free, maybe you're fucking graffiti, maybe you're this, maybe you're that, maybe you're boring and straight and laced. Good, this really helps you, but maybe you're not. Maybe you're like, I don't give a fuck kind of personality. Even just having your finger on the pulse of this kind of shit, yin yang, will enhance whatever you do. It doesn't matter if you're business or art or whatever, but we're specifically talking about music and growing things. But this should apply to a lot of fucking things. It's like basic philosophy.